Pues hoy hemos celebrado una presentación del estudio que en Momentum hemos hecho, se llama We Know Metaverso, que lo hemos hecho en 7 países y que es un estudio que da datos reveladores y yo creo que datos muy relevantes y además rompe muchos mitos sobre lo que es el metaverso.
De oportunidades casi infinito. Vamos a ver un estudio de datos muy relevantes y además yo creo datos también muy reveladores sobre esta nueva realidad que ha desarrollado Momentum en 7 países, Momentum Worldwide en 7 países y que se llama We Know Metaverso. Vamos a ver también casos reales de experiencias desarrolladas en este espacio del multiverso y en esta nueva realidad. Y lo que vais a ver, como apuntábamos en este vídeo, son experiencias reales presentes y reales futuras. Porque tienen...
Pero en esta presentación no queríamos solamente hablar de metaverso y de lo que hemos hablado ha sido del multiverso. Y del multiverso como campo de juego para poder crear experiencias globales de marca. Yo creo que casi todos conocen que en Momentum llevamos más de 30 años trabajando en el mercado de las experiencias y en el mundo de las experiencias y relacionando personas y marcas a través de emociones.
Muy introducidos en temas de Web3, Metaverso y Total Human Experience. Te diría que allí es donde estamos haciendo los más cambios. Por supuesto, eso arrastra e-commerce y todo lo demás.
¿En qué afecta a la agencia este cambio hacia el metaverso, con el metaverso y el contenido?
Yo creo que para la agencia es simplemente un reto más de ser capaces de no de crear y producir contenidos para el metaverso, que ya lo estamos haciendo, sino ayudar a nuestros clientes a dilucidar qué rol pueden jugar sus marcas. Yo creo que eso es lo que todavía no hemos resuelto la mayoría de las marcas.
En el mercado de las experiencias, en generar relaciones, en generar conexiones, en satisfacer y en conseguir. Yo creo que la diferencia entre las frustraciones que hemos tenido en el pasado sobre todas las expectativas sobre las evoluciones tecnológicas es que ahora estamos en otro punto. Yo creo que humanamente estamos en un momento en el que necesitamos expandir nuestros sentidos y la tecnología ha evolucionado por delante de nosotros, permitiéndonos unos espacios de relación tremendamente amplios y casi infinitos y muy significativos.
Let me introduce, by order of presentation, let me introduce DArcy. Luke is the EMEA Growth Officer. Thank you and welcome, Luke, for being here with us. And Luke is going to share with us Momentum Global Vision about Web3 and experiences on it. And I want also...
Good morning, everyone. Lovely to be here. I'm essentially, I think, probably the warm-up guy for Elena. So for the main event, it's great to be here. It's great to have this opportunity to share our view of where the Metaverse and Web3 is heading.
Elena is the Chief Strategy of Momentum Worldwide and is going to present the main conclusion of the research and what's next in this market and in this future.
And what particular area of the Metaverse we focused on? When you think about the Metaverse, and I think this is why you're all here today, there is a lot of conversation going. In fact, you do a quick Google search and there's no lack of data around what the opportunity is from a marketplace perspective. We know on average, and you can look at a lot of different reports, it's currently worth about $100 billion. Sorry, my screens are going up and down. Future potential will only triplicate if you believe the research, $12.46 trillion.
Van a participar también y os van a mostrar casos que ya hemos hecho reales en esta nueva realidad. Irene Ruiz, que es la directora de estrategia y responsable de clientes de Momentum España, y Raúl Pérez, creativo de Momentum España, director creativo de Momentum España. No tengo que presentar a Kika Samblás porque creo que todos las conocéis. Kika es Managing Director y Partner de Scopen, que va a moderar una mesa redonda de expertos en la que contaremos con Pedro, director creativo de Sony Entertainment. Vamos a contar también con César, Quintero, partner y co-founder de eFootball, y con Alejando Roldán, que es Gamers y Esports expert.
Lo que queríamos ahora y lo que hemos visto en esta mañana de presentación ha sido no solamente esos datos sobre metaverso, hemos visto también casos reales de cómo este multiverso permite un espacio, como os decía, de relación infinito para generar experiencias globales de marca y casos reales que ya hemos desarrollado, y luego también hemos visto cuáles son las tensiones y los diferentes puntos de vista sobre cómo puede evolucionar y dónde estamos en el metaverso.
¿Cómo puede evolucionar?
¿Cómo puede evolucionar? Pues puede evolucionar como, creo que la mejor definición, que es la que te decía antes, es como un sistema de expansión de nuestros sentidos que nos provoca una forma de relación casi infinita y una forma de relación en las cosas más habituales, una forma de relación de poder disfrutar de entertainment y de aspectos de ocio, una forma de relación que nos permite disfrutar y hacer compras más selectivas y más inteligentes, y una forma de relación que nos permite tener conexiones mucho más significativas. Eso yo creo que el papel de las marcas es fundamental, cómo lo jueguen, cómo estén y cómo se representen.
Hola. Soy César Quintero de eFootball y hemos estado aquí en este evento de Momentum charlando sobre metaverso, sobre las posibilidades, sobre toda la conexión que hay con la nueva generación y sobre todo también cómo las marcas pueden relacionarse y a través de las agencias en este nuevo mundo que es apasionante. Mi compañero Pedro.
Sí, efectivamente, la definición de metaverso, todas las oportunidades que para las marcas, cuáles pueden ser esos roles, al final no deja de ser un universo o varios universos llenos de oportunidades, llenos de posibilidades, de ideas y de formas de conectar con el público y de contar cosas de manera diferente y más interactiva.
Alejando.
Y es un nuevo canal para las nuevas generaciones, esa generación Z a la que tanto nos cuesta llegar en los medios tradicionales, que no consumen televisión, no consumen radio, no consumen periódicos o medios físicos. Entonces es una buena oportunidad para poder llegar a ellos y tener esa interacción, ese engagement.
¿Qué rol qué rol relevante puedo yo tener en el metaverso con mi marca? Y sobre todo también, ¿cómo puedo monetizar esa inversión? ¿Cómo puedo...?
Bueno, yo creo que el metaverso al fin y al cabo es un canal nuevo, pero es un canal nuevo sobre el cual se van a producir las mismas experiencias que antes, aunque de una forma ligeramente diferente, con lo cual esos problemas, esos inconvenientes existen igual que han existido antes en la web 2.0, pero posiblemente se puedan superar fácilmente.
Sí, bueno, y al final también es un canal y una plataforma o varias plataformas en desarrollo, ¿no? Y es algo que irá evolucionando y tenemos que confiar en ello, porque de aquí a 10 años va a ser una auténtica revolución, como lo fue el teléfono móvil en su día, ¿no?
Bueno, como dice mi compañero César, de aquí pues llevamos un 1% a lo mejor probablemente de lo que es el desarrollo del metaverso y las múltiples funciones que vamos a encontrar, a lo mejor ni lo tenemos en la cabeza.
You'll see, I suppose, from our presentation as well, that I was asked to do Web3 in 5 minutes. Now that is pretty tricky, and I have to say I'm not going to take up more than kind of 5-6 minutes to give you a vision. But in that time, I will try and give you at least 3 takeaways for brands about where we believe Web3 and the Metaverse is going. I guess the interesting thing as well, and you'll see this in the research, is it's very interesting and perhaps a very good get out of jail card when Web3 is still being built and evolved. So that's the disclaimer on everything that you hear this morning. I think the interesting thing, and the reason probably that there are so many Metaverse events and Web3 events going on around Spain and around the world, is that there is a lot of ignorance around what do we actually mean by it, and trying to find a tight definition of what that is very difficult. And you'll see that a recent kind of Harvard Business Review study found that about 70% of people have no idea what the Metaverse is, no idea what Web3 is. So we'll hopefully make sure that everyone leaves here today a little bit more clued up than when we came in as well. I like to think this is about the most complicated chart I have in my entire presentation for you guys, and indulge me because it allows me to be like a TV weatherman for a minute. But essentially, looking out into the audience, there aren't too many faces here who probably remember certainly the original internet and even Web 1. I am grey enough and old enough to know and remember the dial-in tones from AOL and plugging in a phone line and things like that. Most of you probably don't even remember that. Where we are now is Web 2.0, and we're all very familiar with how that shakes down. We're very familiar with the fact that actually it has come from a place that we find information to a place where we begin to store information, we begin to socialize, we begin to collaborate in new and interesting ways. Where Web 3 is obviously heading and evolving is around changing the dynamic, changing the behaviors of the internet, and I guess in very simple terms, it's about kind of rewriting and rewiring really where the internet is going. I suppose things like NFTs, bitcoins, all of that kind of stuff is absolutely crucial to it. It's creating a new currency. It is creating new platforms, new ways of engaging and monetizing the internet. But in doing that, it's also changing the balance of power as well that people have. You may have seen, the background to this is Beeple's NFT that sold for $69 million. Now that's impressive in one way, but the thing that is even more impressive was that actually 6 months prior to that, or actually 12 months prior to that, you would have picked up his artwork for $100. Right? An NFT would have cost you $100. 6 months later, an NFT cost $66,000. And 3 months later, that same NFT was $6.6 million. So again, you just need to make sure that you're getting, you're focusing on where you can make money, where there is an opportunity, where there is creativity. There is a chance for value creation as well, and it's exploding at a very, very accelerated rate. Which is why people like Christie's are now hosting auctions around that as well, and that will just proliferate. I suppose the simplest way of thinking about Web 3 is it's like rewiring the internet. That's what we're doing. That's what brands will be doing. That's what the economists will be doing. That's what the programmers will be doing. Think about it in very simple terms as rewiring the internet and changing our behavior of how we use it and who has the power within that. I suppose the thing we're going to focus on today is the Metaverse, and Elena is going to unveil our global research, and we'll give you a view specifically on both the strategy and creativity that comes and is afforded from that. One of the ways, and we'll focus on some of the examples that we've done at Momentum and others as well, but here's just an example of how somebody like Adidas has transformed some of their business. This is a piece of work that essentially created a whole new range of digital collectibles and built in the Metaverse. But interestingly, as well as selling $23 million of these in the first day, what actually happened was that they created a secondary market on OpenSea, so where it becomes a trading currency and trading value and things like that. And that's the interesting dynamic as you think about your own brands and your own products as well. What can be collectibles? What can be content? How do you activate those communities? I guess this is the thing for brands, and I come swiftly to the end and hand over to somebody who's going to give you a much deeper dive. But for brands, we believe there are probably three base level opportunities for you. Activate communities. If you are a brand who is fortunate enough to have rock solid communities, this is a chance for you to embrace them in a whole new different way, to empower them in a whole new different way as well. The other thing, you may have seen this or you may not, this is a UK influencer, and I use the term very loosely, because Web3 will revolutionise how we move from an influencer model to an owner model. This was somebody trying to blag a hotel room, and I think these people are going to be called out increasingly as we change the dynamic and power of the internet, and also how the people who are the owners, begin to call this out. She was like, I think I deserve a free night, I'm a big influencer, and they go like, listen, social influencer, the answer's no. And I think she's not exactly the target customer that they were looking to attract to their Dublin hotel. So we believe, really, that you move from an influencer to an owner model, and that's something that a brand must bear in mind as well. And then finally, one of the things that you may have seen from people like Nike, people like the NBA have been all over the opportunities that the Metaverse provide. This is about selling moments. So this is about your chance to own a LeBron James dunk in the NBA. So NBA Top Shots is just a classic example of a rights holder who's begun to explore the opportunities within this. So again, I think for brands, where we're heading is to rethink your brand experiences, rethink the content that you generate, and rethink how you begin to push that out into the market and make it, collectible, and make sure that whatever you do, you can't ignore Web3. It is coming, it is here to stay, but the amazing thing is we're at an early enough stage that people who, from brand and consumers, if you get on board now, you have a chance to shape the future model of this, and that can only be a good and exciting thing as we change the landscape and the future of the digital economy and brand economies. And with that, I will hand over to Elena to take us through the research. Thanks very much, and I hope you have a great morning.
History for many folks, for researchers, for brands, for consumers, for strategists like myself. And in fact, if you feel the same way, you are not alone. In our research, we asked people, what is the Metaverse? And you could see from this statement, I have absolutely no idea what this is, but I've heard the word, I just don't know what that means. In fact, you see this in a couple different ways. I think this is something about the internet or social media. In this case, somebody said it's a term that Facebook changed its name to. And the best kind of answer that I hear quite a bit is, doesn't it have something to do with DC Comics, the Multiverse, Doctor Strange? So the answers that we get in terms of what is the Metaverse are quite varied. Going to the Metaverse in the first place, and what is making them stay there? Where? There are a lot of platforms around, right? Decentraland, Meta, and so forth. Why are people choosing certain platforms over others, and what are they doing on those platforms? And who? We talk a lot about the platform, but we're not really talking about the people that are on there. How are they different? What do they look like? Can we segment them in a way that we do for every other experience platform that we create? So ultimately, for our research, where we decided to focus on is focusing on the people of the Metaverse. And the other interesting thing that we're going to kind of structure our research around are the myths. Because even though the Metaverse is relatively new, there's quite a few myths about the Metaverse that we actually saw in our research being dispelled. So that's how we're going to break our structure today. We're going to talk about the myth of why people are going in the first place and what it's doing. The myth of where, that the idea that people are just choosing platforms randomly. And third, that the people on the Metaverse are just a bunch of early adopters. So let's begin. Myth number one, the Metaverse will create social way. You're going to see from our research that the Metaverse is actually a place where people are finding true emotional value. And I'll give you some examples. Today we know loneliness is a big factor. There's study after study globally that people are feeling more lonely today, especially out of COVID, than ever before, 33% in this study. Really big thing, especially for young people who are going on the Metaverse today. The fact that this is an environment where they can be their true, authentic selves. From a brand marketing perspective, for a lot of our brands where this is definitely in their brand role and purpose space, this is a really interesting avenue, a true human need that is being satisfied on a technology platform like the Metaverse. 52% globally think our society focuses too much on looks, yet 79% of people talk about the Metaverse as a place where they feel accepted for who they are, not how they look.